everybody, and welcome to the Honor and Profit Unboxing Corporation side this time. I'm Steven, that's Zach, that's Tim. We are Team Covenant, or at least a part of the machine known as Team Covenant. And we're going to take a look at these cards. Jinteki gets some love, and a lot of players would say it's about time. Some of us, though, would say they didn't need it. But we're going to see, and hopefully this makes Jinteki wider, not taller, as we said about Criminal. I think they did a really good job on the Criminal side of things. So let's see if they do a really good job on the Jinteki side of things. Starting out with Harmony Medtech, Biomedical Pioneer. Also, I mean, just a new look at Jinteki already. You always associate Jinteki with murder and death and pain and net damage. And here they present us with a nice Biomedical Pioneer. Hey, no, we're working on medicine.
That art is very peaceful.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Oh.
It is a division, which, if that needs to matter ever. Each player needs one fewer agenda point to win the game, which is important, and 40-12, which is also extremely important. And then finally, evolving a better you, something that I could easily hear in the future or even now. So each player needs one fewer agenda points to win. You lose a little influence, you gain a little consistency, and you can easily compare this side by side to NBN World is Yours, for instance. What do you think, Tim? You're our Jinteki guy.
I think that this card is fantastic. I say fantastic probably too much in my life, but this one is indeed fantastic. It just is, in my opinion, probably the best identity in the box out of all six.
Boom.
Now, you thought this was so good, you actually played with it like 3 days after it came out at a regional.
I did.
How'd that go for you?
I think it went really well. I ended up going into the cut as top seed, 5th place overall. It's a very good.
It performed. I saw it, and it was really close. The game that knocked you out of the top 8, or I think, was close to doing that. It was the second one with Sasha, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing. Don't want to spoil anything, though.
Oh, man.
Be careful.
Yep. So you think this is good?
I think it's the best one in the box.
Now, I want to disagree with you.
That's
completely. Just out of principle and pure values, not out of any
Someone's got to do it.
Not out of any kind of experience. So each player needing one fewer agenda point to win the game, turning that into an advantage for the corporation. How does that look, basically? How does Jinteki turn that into an advantage and not just a faster game?
The way that it's an advantage is the majority of Jinteki's cards are not, you don't care about them until Jinteki's at game point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to worry about your remote servers ever. I'm just going to hit your centrals until you're on game point. And then now I have to worry about those remotes. This lets you get to game point at 3 points.
Yeah.
Which is a lot different than 4.
It is. It's one more.
No, it's a huge difference in this game.
Depending on which way you're going, it's either 32% or 25% different.
So now you can basically, what this looks like is you can basically score one 3-point agenda, and hit game point, rather than having to score either 2 2-pointers or 2 1-pointers and a 2-pointer, or a 3-pointer, 1-pointer. So it kind of gets you to that sweet spot for Jinteki as quickly as possible. You agree with that? And I think that's fair. Losing 3 influence is kind of a bummer. I know that as a runner, I've played against this a lot, and aside from some medtech decks like yours, and Tim actually has a video coming out about this very soon, so we won't dive into it too hard. But I know that I've seen it played as just a fast advanced deck, sands and whatnot. And I really do think that that's maybe missing the boat on medtech, because there's no amount of fast advance in a Jinteki deck that is going to yield, I feel like, a bigger advantage than me having to score one less agenda against Jinteki.
I agree.
What I don't like doing against Jinteki is having to run a lot, having to dig and look for agendas, having to spend resources and cards trying to score points. So if you're telling me I have to do that less against Harmony Medtech, I'm generally okay with that. Unless we're talking about, like Tim's talking about, a 3-pointer, get you to game point, and now you can put the heat on, you activate your traps. All of that's looking good. So
activate my trap card.
I would say there's a good way to do this and a bad way to do it. I don't think this is a fast advance card.
I agree. I think fast advance works way better out of personal evolution.
Yeah.
Throwing that out there.
Yeah, of course.
I think it works way better out of NBN.
Whoa. Breaking new ground over there, Zach.
I mean, the thing about fast advance to me is just, like, if you're fast advancing, the 1 point's not going to matter.
Some would say. Some would argue.
I don't know. It just feels like if you can score out of hand anyway, I don't know.
And I think fast advance is a misunderstood term, too. It's like, what does fast advance even mean? It's like, I'm a fast advancing BN deck and I score an Astro Script on turn 4. It's like, that's not that fast or impressive.
I think fast advance means that I'm going to score agendas out of hand without ever having them installed.
Maybe we should call it out of hand advance.
Hand advance.
Hand advance.
Call it all hand advance. All right, Harmony MedTech, it's good. You got a video coming on it.
It's different.
And
it's different.
It's a thing.
And
it's been doing well.
Let's not forget 40 cards is more consistent than 49 or 44. So you can go minimum on this and it could work out for you.
My next year?
Yeah, do it.
You are.
Hit me.
Next up, we have another Jinteki ID, Nisei Division.
Also
the
beautiful.
next generation, also beautiful. It's a 45-15 identity division. Whenever you and the runner reveal secretly spent credits, gain 1 credit. Also, the flavor text is perfecting the imperfect.
It's nice.
It's really. This is my favorite in the box. I don't think it's the best.
Just your favorite.
This is my favorite in the box as well, but it's definitely not the best.
So we've talked about this a bit. So the effect itself is fantastic. It doesn't have like a once per turn or like a, which makes it crazy. Let's say I have 3 snowflakes on a server, right? Like those become pop-up windows essentially for me, and they've got to deal with them and maybe not get through, which is really nice.
Until they have a barrier breaker.
But that said, it's like, I think you can really play some mind games with this, and I think if you guys get more side games,
I think that's really what it's gonna like. Because
2 or
right now
3.
there are a lot of good side games, and that is fact. But I don't think they're enough to make this worth running over any of the others.
I'll tell you what, this makes Caprice like Super Saiyan mode. That is the worst. That could be such a huge swing for you. And I feel like if I'm in a Nisei division and I'm playing a side game, I'm showing 0 most of the time. But if I really need to keep them out, I think I show 2.
Or do you?
I think you do. Because I've played a lot of these side games now, and it's like if I consistently show 0, you think I show 1. I think most people would think I show 1 if I really want to keep you out. But I show 2 instead.
Why don't you show 0 and then they spend 1 and you get your credits?
Nah, man.
Man.
Too scary. Cannot meta
It's
the
a
meta,
really,
man.
I mean, it's as interesting as the side games. Like, interesting concept. If there's a lot of these, you need to be able to trigger this for it to pay off.
Yeah.
And you can play a little denial with it. You just spend 1 every single time. It's like, well, force the runner to spend a credit every time they play a side game, and you even out because you gain 1.
Yeah, I mean, in the side game world, it suddenly for the court makes a 0 and a 1.
Look
I mean,
good.
a 0 is positive now, and a 1 is even.
It's actually it's so good because Nisei Division makes 0 too good for the corp. So you're like, surely they won't just go 0. That's the most obvious answer. It really adds even more confusion to the side.
You could also just randomly pick a number every time.
That's what Tim did.
Yeah.
That's what everyone says they do, but nobody really does that.
Is
right?
it really random?
Right?
Yes.
Right. I love this. So I just want to keep an eye on any identity that has a credit symbol on it is going to be good. It's like, yeah, that's an integral part of the game. So no matter how
Credits
you're
are
getting
good.
them, look at all the top identities. It's like,
Credits win games.
Credits. That's
All right,
that's simple.
up next, we have the Tenon Institute, The Secrets Within. It's a 45-15, it's a division, and it says, when your turn begins, you may place 1 advancement token on a card if the runner did not make a successful run during his or her last turn. And there's no flavor text.
Very strong. Very strong, very strong. I'm successful run, man. That's even worse. When I first saw this, I thought it was run, kind of like replicating or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that is bad enough, but like having to make a successful run
Every turn.
every turn, like even just 1 pup over anything is like.
Is it worth it?
So
No,
what are we advancing here? What's the story?
There are lots of things you can advance. You can advance agendas, you can advance a trap, you can advance ice. Like, it can advance anything. You can advance the opponent's cards.
If you really wanted to.
So if we look at this in a very academic way, in the sense that, so let's make an assumption. Let's assume that you always have something on the board that you want to advance on your turn. But if we can make that assumption, then this identity is at best saving you a click and a credit every single turn. Can you imagine if there was an identity that said
Gain a click and a
gain
credit.
a click and a credit at the start of your turn?
At the start of any-
Everyone would freak out. It'd be over.
Even at the start of any turn, your opponent didn't make a successful run.
Correct. Game would be over.
With
it's-
Jinteki, the thing being, you can, if they have to run, what are they running on?
Right.
It's like, it's because to be successful, then
Even
you have to
archives
access.
is a
The amount of
Sure, no.
times
You have to
that
access to be successful, right?
yeah,
So
the amount of times that I play against an opponent with my Jinteki deck and they don't, like, they just are drawing cards or like
Yeah, you
draw, gain a credit. Like, it's way more often than you think. Like, whenever you actually look at it, it's like, oh, I spent some turns not doing anything.
I'm just picturing like a scenario where you put like a fetal down.
Mm-hmm.
You just have it down.
Yeah, why not?
And then it's like,
or
well,
a
you're
Ronin
going to
even,
run
it's like,
successfully on a fetal. You're going to run on my hand successfully, which is loaded with snares and Shikyu and whatever other baloney. You can run on my deck, which who knows what you're going to hit. Or you can run on my archives, which I have a couple shocks in.
a couple shocks and Shikyu. Yeah.
Shikyu. And it's like, oh, and you literally could score a fetal AI without ever doing anything.
Yeah.
Which is the only way I think Jinteki wants to score a fetal AI is free, for free.
I mean, if it's like
true.
advance for free, advance for free, advance for free, it's like, okay. I mean, two clicks, and I may score that now.
It makes the game so bad for not Jinteki.
For not Jinteki.
I mean, it's like you have the threat of trapping without the economy expenditure to trap. That could just be a June bug over there. Like, and maybe I have no use for these tokens except for Trick of Light later on when I draw it. Are you gonna go run and check that? It's like I don't think you can afford to do that. Could be an agenda, could be anything.
With this, by placing advancement, can you advance non-advanceable things?
Yeah.
Yes.
So like I could have Edge of World,
Mm-hmm.
and then advance.
You can advance
it,
any card.
Advance
In
it.
fact, it was ruled that you could advance identities
Mm-hmm.
even.
You can advance identities. You can't trick or light off of them. Or it doesn't do
You
anything.
can't do anything with it.
But you can.
This is really good with Trigger Light, FYI.
Yes.
Oh, whoa.
Click, boom, noted. Yeah, that's sweet.
This also works really well with the ice that can only be advanced while rezzed. So like
Mhm.
you can have a woodcutter at R&D. It's like I'm gonna put an advancement on it. I'm gonna put an advancement on it.
It used to be that those things weren't active until you res them, they did nothing, and then you could start advancing them.
See
Now
what you did there.
they can be terrifying.
I dig this identity so much right now. It's crazy.
All you have to imagine, even just an ice wall at the start of the game that gets advanced every turn for free, becomes problematic. Like after 3-4 turns.
Well, cool.
I don't want to corrode that. So
I don't want to.
I think this is really good. I also think though that when we think of Jinteki, we have consistently seen personal evolution for the past year since the beginning of the game, which is net damage every time an agenda scored or stolen, which kind of changed our perception of Jinteki and what we were willing to risk on a run. It's like if I hit that fetal, now I'm taking 3 instead of 2, and so my options were a little bit more limited. And with all these new cards, I think we'll see plenty of Jinteki decks that are less net damage focused. So maybe we'll have to, as runners, get out of the mindset of, oh my gosh, every Jinteki deck has 3 snares and 3 shocks in it.
But you still have to respect it.
But that's the problem, is that for now, I still have to respect that that could be a snare and I could lose this game right here, and I can't risk that. So
Yeah.
it just puts them in a really, really strong place. I think Tenon Institute, exceptionally strong. It's a good card.
I dig it.
Yep.
And a good new way to play, Very different. Let's move on to House of Knives. It's a 3-1 agenda. Security. Place 3 agenda counters on House of Knives when you score it, and you can remove one of those agenda counters to do 1 net damage only during a run and only once per turn.
It's fantastic.
Sweet.
Yeah, falls into a lot of great decks already.
Just the work compression on this alone. It's like I'm just gonna do a bunch of net damage this game, and that's how I'm going to slow you down and score my agendas.
Yeah, it makes you honor things that you normally don't have to honor. Like at this point, if you have this scored and I'm going into R&D and I hit a pop or something that I don't want to break, or if I hit one of these new cards coming down that we'll get to here in a second, and you use that and do 1 net damage, I can't run anymore. Like I just have to stop. If I'm at 3 cards going into your hand or R&D, it's like
You have to be going at 4 cards now.
you have to make it happen. So it
and heaven
adds
forbid
some
you
play.
have 2 of these scored.
Don't want to think about it.
And it's like
Net damage for
2
days.
damage during this run. Do you really want to access with 2 cards now?
Yeah, I don't want to think about
No,
that.
you don't. It's fool's errand.
Yeah.
Or even running a potential June bug that's going to take 4 cards out of your hands. Like, I'm willing to accept this. You initiate the run, and then let's say they take 1 off the bat, and it's like, I got 4 cards. I would lose them all. Maybe this is my 3rd click. If he's got a neural or 2, it's over. Or if this could be all sorts of bad things down there. So scary. Way to go, Jinteki. Another great tool for net damage.
That's a cool agenda. Next up, we have Medical Breakthrough. It's a 4-2 agenda research. Lower the advancement requirement of each medical breakthrough by 1. This ability is active even while medical breakthrough is in the runner's score area. So the first one's a 4-2, the second one's a 3-2, and the last one is a 2-2 agenda.
Lovely.
This card has won me several games. Straight up.
Let's look at odds on this, though.
This is such good design.
Yeah.
Like going to such a good place in this game. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
The art continues to impress, by the way. I can't say that enough. So you've got 3 of these in your deck. What's the odds that you actually see a 2-2 medical breakthrough? How often has that happened?
Often enough to warrant running it.
Often enough to love it.
I mean, Imagine if someday.
I've seen 3 astroscopes plenty of games.
Imagine if someday the
Especially
corp had a way
there's
to
a
get agendas.
search for
choice.
agendas in your
Like
deck.
a fast track or something.
It'd be
Yeah.
crazy.
It'd be excellent.
Something to put them on the fast track.
That is true, and I think maybe this one paired with the Harmony MedTech is what got people going in that direction, even though maybe that's not the best way to go. But yeah, scoring agendas, I even like this in Personal Evolution. It's like an easy, quick net damage.
It's just
this
there.
is just strong, man. It's just solid.
It's like
It's not like Astroscript strong, but it's...
It's also like, does runner really want to score this strong?
Yeah.
Like, they index your deck, and it's like, even if there's 2 of these, if they're sitting at 0 points, and it's like...
You score them.
You do score them, but like at least it's a penalty for scoring, which is what Jinteki does.
It makes things also very bizarre for you whenever there are 2 scored on the board, scored or stolen, and you both need like 2 points to win. It's like... If all they have to do is draw their last medical breakthrough and they win this game. So you have to be on top of R&D, and you have to clear the hand and make sure that there's nothing there on the medical breakthrough into things before you R&D lock. So it's nasty.
I think it's really strong agenda.
Man, Jinteki's just getting awesome.
I love the flavor, by the way.
Yeah.
How do you not play
You won't
this?
feel it, or anything else for that matter.
It's really good. All right, up next we have the Phylotic Entanglement. It is a unique 3 advancement 2-point agenda. It's a security. When you score Phylotic Entanglement, do 1 net damage for each agenda in the runner's score area. Limit 1 Phylotic Entanglement per deck.
Man, I love me some 3/2s, by the way.
I'll tell you what, this is a Hail Mary card to me. I mean, this is a great card in normal play. Love it. 3/2 for Jinteki, great. There's only 1 copy of it in your deck, so it's not... If there could be 3, it would be a much more significant impact, you know, obviously. But sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. And the effect is really nice. It's really nice. It's on corp turn, so, you know.
Hey, you can straight up, like, if they have 3 agendas scored, that's 4 damage with Personal Evolution.
It's 4 damage.
Yeah.
It can be nasty.
Forbid I installed Advanced this last time, and then I have to do
in standard Jinteki, there's no way you don't want this.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just
even if it's the first one out of the box.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, best case scenario, runners at 6 points and they get hosed. They die.
Yeah.
In the amount of, like, I've ran Brain Trust forever, and that is literally a blank 3/2. Let's be real.
Yeah, it is.
This is not.
No,
it's fantastic.
It's a real 3/2.
And heaven forbid you run this in the
Brain Trust has text?
Yeah, right. Heaven forbid you run this in all of the 1-pointers deck.
Yeah.
So I just run all 1-pointers in this.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's like, you scored 5 agendas and you're at 5 points.
Yeah.
Literally dead.
I mean, this really does look good in those instances. It is, to me, somewhat of a Hail Mary sometimes. And it's like, man, I'm like 5-0, lost this game. They only need 2 more to score, and it's like, I'll take a gamble and put this Phylotic down, maybe advance it once or twice. And then if they don't deal with that, you could easily find yourself winning that game when you probably had no business winning it before this card came out.
Yeah.
So it's also good. Fast Track, again, is looking really good in Jinteki for me, which we'll
Go
get
get
to
the
in a second.
pain.
Yep.
Get the pain.
Oh, baby. Is this me? Am I in Future Perfect?
Future Perfect.
Oh,
That art is incredible.
the agenda that has changed the world. A 5/3 Future Perfect Initiative Psi.
An agenda that's a side.
It is an agenda. When the runner accesses the Future Perfect, you secretly spend 1, 2, or 0 credits. Reveal. If you and the runner spend a different number of credits, prevent it from being stolen. Ignore this ability if the runner accesses it while it is installed. So in R&D, Archives, and HQ, this agenda is hard to steal. Real hard. And harder than that is knowing that you could have stolen it and won the game and then failed to do so.
And then there's
My favorite
multiple
thing. My
times.
My favorite place for this agenda is in my hand.
Yeah.
Because they run on my hand.
I prefer it on the ground.
They run my hand. They find it. They lose the side game. It goes back into my hand. I shuffle my hand up, and then now you have to find the 1 and 5 again, and then a 1 and 3.
Yeah. And me knowing
There's
that
the
it's
maths.
there makes me want to just go for it the whole time. And meanwhile, you're establishing your board, you're establishing your economy, and nothing is happening because I'm consistently not winning that side game.
But let's not forget, this is a 3-point agenda.
It is.
And I have witnessed the failure of the side game costing games.
But I mean, if you're going to run a 3-point agenda and you're running Private Requisition or Executive Retreat,
It's without
at least there's a shot that they don't steal it.
Yeah, I would say it's the best 3-pointer that I have seen in the game thus far.
I would agree.
Hands down.
Especially for Jinteki.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I've ran Private Requisition on my deck for a long time, and it's like, I'll risk this chum.
Yeah.
Why do I do that? I mean, there's no other option.
And sometimes, I mean, like, we just looked at Philotic Entanglement. We've looked at some other things. Even some Jinteki going crazy on a punitive counter-strike or something. Like, there are times where you really don't care if this is stolen or not. And it's like, okay, you can try to spend money and outbluff me, and I just spend 0, and you either lose money and lose the agenda, or you lose money, you gain the agenda, and now I can come back and make use of that in some way or another. So I think it fits right in there. This is
Really good
an
card.
incredibly frustrating agenda, and I think of anything that's going to make people really respect and hate the Psy game, which there's a good...
Two parties.
A good split on that
Yeah.
front. This is the one that'll do it because it's that taste of glory that is stolen away from you as the runner.
You can see it.
And
Just couldn't
sometimes
get
it
it.
hurts.
All right, next up we have a Jinteki Asset Executive Chairman Hero. 2 cost to res, 6 trash cost, 5 influence. The runner's maximum hand size is reduced by 2.
Of course it is.
If Chairman Hero is trashed while being accessed, add him to the runner's score area as an agenda worth 2 agenda points.
Boy, talk about balance. I think that's probably about where it should be. I mean, 2 agenda points is a lot. It's
This
good.
card is really good.
Hand size -2 is a lot.
Hand size -2 means if that gets set up where I can't get in there and deal with it, just stop. Just scoop.
I could see this being used in concert with Ronins quite often. So you have this guy on their turn. You're just set up and you're just like, oh, Ronin Nerling P, you lose.
Mm-hmm.
There's been so many times I've had a Ronin at 4 and 2 Nerling Ps in my hands. Like, I can't kill you if you stay at 5.
Yep.
Now you can't.
Now, the interesting thing about Hero, right? So let's talk about res windows. So like at the end of the runner's turn,
Mhm.
you can res him, and then they
Correct.
have to discard down to 3, which means your turn is set up to do anything that it wants. If it can score 4 net damage somehow, you're going to win.
Right.
Which is exactly what we're talking about. So the window for this guy to show up out of nowhere and be like, oh, by the way, I'm set up to kill you now, is really problematic, especially when a lot of times Jinteki's remotes go more or less unlooked at. And then it's just like, well, he's been sitting there for 6 turns, and then all of a sudden, whoa, Hero, whoa, dead, okay,
Yeah.
figured it out.
You could also use this with Geary Labyrinth. The Kogi gives -2 hand size.
Wow.
Just throwing that out there.
Wow, that could be rough. So maybe that's why on the runner side we saw some cards that gave plus to hand size.
It's possible.
A little public sympathy maybe coming down the pipe
It's possible.
This is a really good card.
Also, Wizard trashes this guy for 3.
Also, you can run
The old
encryption
wizard
protocol.
buff.
You can run encryption protocol with this and have it be 9 trash costs.
And you can advance him with Tenon. Watch out.
Yep. All right. Up next, we have the Mental Health Clinic. It's a 0 res cost asset. It's a facility. It's 3 trash cost. It's 2 influence. Gain 1 credit when your turn begins. The runner's maximum hand size is increased by 1.
This is so good.
It's fantastic. If you're playing a Jinteki deck, or any deck for that matter, that is
If you're
not,
playing any deck,
not
this is
trying
fantastic.
to kill the runner,
Yeah.
this is fantastic. You
It's
can
like-
also run Sweepspeak with this card.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, resonance for 0 and gaining 1 immediately. And if they want to get rid of it, they have to pay 3.
It's so obvious in replicating perfection too. It's so obvious in that it's so hard to get over there. I can't tell you how many times I wish I had Doppelganger out. It's like I've never wished I had Doppelganger out in my life. Now it's like, man,
Till this moment.
where's this console?
Yeah, I mean,
that
this
need?
is to me a better pad campaign.
Oh yeah,
Oh, I mean, it's fantastic.
1 less to trash, but 2 less to res.
Yeah, it's so good.
Just the fact that on turn 1, I'm immediately profiting from it. And then if you run on it and trash it, like, I used a click to gain a credit, and you lost 3 credits in the click. Like,
Yeah,
if there was a
like.
card that said that,
It's the math.
It's what we
it
like.
does say that. That's what that is.
It's what we like.
You just have to read it. You have to have your Netrunner glasses on.
Good economy for
Oh, let me-
Jinteki.
I'm gonna invent those. They're coming. Is this me?
Steven's thing.
Yeah, let's talk about Psychic Field. I know this one's gotten a lot of talk,
That art.
but I don't know that it's gotten a lot of use. 0 cost, ambush, Psy. Hey, look at that. 2 to trash this guy. It is an asset. If the runner exposes or accesses Psychic Field while installed, you and the runner secretly spend 0, 1, or 2 reveal spent credits. If you spend a different number, do 1 net damage for each card in the runner's grip.
Wow.
So, if you lose this side game when it's installed, you lose your hand.
It's
Unless
also
you
worth
have
noting,
like net shields and the other things that you probably shouldn't have.
it's also worth noting that it's if the runner exposes or
Yeah.
accesses.
Uh,
So they just like, I'm gonna peek over
I
there.
missed that
Bring
completely.
it in, silhouette.
I'm gonna, peek, I'm, gonna,
Nice.
I'm gonna peek over there. Oh,
That's
Side
an
game.
intense side game.
That would be horrible.
Yeah.
and it's also worth noting this is only one influence.
Yeah. It's a surprise. You just empty their hand for no good reason.
Like you always like
This could go the way
anybody
of the
can
deck.
run this card. It's just like,
I definitely have one copy of this in my NBN deck for about 5 games, and I saw it like twice. And one time it worked because they thought it was a sand. You just go over there and trash the old sand, and it's like, see ya, hand.
You just install it without anything protecting it.
Yeah, well, no, it's behind ice, like it's in the remote,
That's horrible.
and it's just like, all right, install here, gain 2 credits, pass. And then it's like, oh, everyone, yeah, you installed your sand, saying you're going to score the thing next turn, so I gotta go run it and spend 6. So you gain credits, go down there. And it's like, yeah. Which is really funny and quite nice. But
But it didn't win you the game.
yeah, it didn't. But at one influence, I feel like this is a really good one of in most any deck. It's just like you just kind of have to feel weird once you hit this.
the thing about this is it will not kill the runner
No,
by itself.
no.
So don't run if that's what you want it to do.
Man, you know what?
But it sets up the kill. It's like
Yeah.
an alley-oop. Like an alley-oop?
What I was thinking of the
Dunk.
other day, which I'll talk about when we get to the card, but I think Snoop's becoming a cooler thing, and with these cards around. Not this one in particular.
I think this is a cool card. I don't think it's too much. I like that it's one influence, so you can see this anywhere.
Quick question: Can you hit House of Knives after this effect?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
What if there's 2 things to access and they choose to access the asset first?
they're in trouble.
Is there a window there between accessing the asset and accessing like an upgrade?
Whenever you access this is whenever you do 1 damage for each card in their grip.
Sure.
So if they lose a card before they access this, it doesn't matter. They'll still lose their
But if
grip.
the other thing
But
did damage,
After this effect has gone off,
Could
is
you
there
House
any
of
way
Knives?
to House of Knives it?
I don't think so.
Like, is there?
I don't
any-
think there's a paid action ability window after
Okay.
they've already decided to access.
but you could have something else, like an agenda that doesn't add damage to them.
Well, you can't have an agenda and an asset
Ah, yeah,
on the
that's
same
true.
server. The Hokusai grid doesn't add damage, but it's on successful run. So that'd be before they access this.
Boom. So nothing yet. Yeah, I'm willing to accept
I
that.
feel like this could tee someone up for a scorch, though.
until I can die further. Oh
Tee
yeah.
someone up for anything.
It's like successful
neural-
run. I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
see
tee up for a
source.
triple neural EMP. Like
Yeah.
you hit this, it's bad news.
It's just there's such an influx of traps and problematic things, and they can't all be in the deck, but
But you have to respect them all.
all of them have to be respected. It's just
It's getting big.
it's a meta problem right now. Who we got?
I think it's me.
Zach.
Next up, we have another
Shikyu.
Shikyu. It's a Jinteki asset ambush. 4 influence, 0 trash, 0 cost. When the runner accesses Shikyu, you may pay X credits. The runner must take either X net damage or add Shikyu to his or her score area as an agenda worth -1 agenda point. Ignore this ability if the runner accesses Shikyu from R and D.
Fantastic.
So
That's where you want to
hand
access it. Yeah.
installed or trash. If they access this, you can basically pay 1 credit more than they have cards in their hand, and they have to either lose the
or
game
you can pay
take a
3 and they just take 3
-1.
net damage.
Yeah.
Cause deal with it.
Yep. Yep.
It's really good. I think this is a really good card. Life and death. You know.
For
Life
influence.
and death.
Shikyu. Like that. Yeah, this is solid. I think a lot of people were overly worried about this card when it came out.
It's really good at MedTech.
You see it in R&D, you trash it. Maybe hopefully you don't have to get into archives much to deal with it. I think still, given that you determine the order of access when you hit archives,
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is still fine, even with noise or someone who wants to get in there and win the game. It's like, well, I'll just access the agendas first. Hope they're not future perfects that you lose.
LOL.
But yeah, this is solid. -1 agenda point. Hey, run data dealer.
How many times have you seen someone Reza Jackson draw 6 cards and then discard?
Lots.
And how many times do you first action run archives?
Yeah. Not anymore.
Oh, here's 3
Not
Shikyus.
Jinteki, at least. But again, you also have to think, like, as a runner, archives should be your last option. It's like, why are you running archives at 0 points to try to score 2 or 3? Like, they're not going to go away. Jackson's already on the board. He's going to deal with it. So archives is still kind of just like
You use it to
Side
get rid of
project.
Jackson.
Yeah, that's why I would do it. But now it's like I'm gonna probably just run on Jackson instead. But then it's like, man, I gotta get in there eventually because I'm noise.
It's not as good. Obviously, yeah, it's a card that helps Jinteki. Yeah, it's all right.
This is a really useful card.
I played against it a lot, and I don't think it's crazy or
It can be
mind-blowing.
annoying, is what it can be.
Oh, it's always annoying.
All right, up next we have Tin Malign. It's a 2-cost asset. It's a clone. It's 3 influence. It's 4 trash cost. Click. Swap 2 pieces of installed ice.
2 cost, 4 to trash. It's okay.
I like it.
I mean, you're never going to trash this, right?
You know,
depends.
I thought that. I really did think that. And I was playing against Replicating Perfection, and I believe Kendall was running here at the store. And he was doing crazy stuff with this. And it annoyed me so much that I thought about trashing it. But it would be weird stuff like have a bunch of remotes with like 1 piece of ice over the top of them. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to run this like Jackson that you have. It's like, oh, res this nice piece of ice. And then I would break it all, get in there, break Jackson, then he would swap it to R&D, and now it's a new unres piece of ice over here that I have no idea about. Or it's like just an annoying thing that now no longer matters because the remote is essentially empty.
I really like this card with like archers
Mm-hmm.
and Janice's even the big things.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I need to protect my R&D right now. So I'm going to put all this big ice here. And then it's like, now I need to win the game. I'm going to move this archer over here, move this Janice over here, and install. Go.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Really good
it's
for
a really
that.
cool card.
And Jinteki, if anyone, I feel like, has ice that triggers on the next ice in the run. You know, you have Chum, you have not Ronin. What's the other
Inazuma?
that nobody plays that puts it in the run on everything?
Oh, Sensei.
Sensei, yeah, which is actually a great little piece of ice, but it makes those things even better. So
Yeah.
it fits right.
It just helps Jinteki get their ice in the position that it wants to be.
It's beautiful.
No matter when they draw that ice.
Yeah.
It's a card.
Cerebral Cast. This is an interesting one for me. 1 cost. Operation Grey Up Psy. Playing with Werner made a successful run during his or her last turn. It is 3 influence also before we get too much farther. You and the runner play a Psy game. If you spend a different number of credits, he or she chooses to suffer 1 brain damage or take 1 tag. So the runner makes a successful run. You pay 1 credit. You play a Psy game, and then they either suffer brain damage or take a tag.
I like this card a lot in a kill deck.
So obviously this replaces like Sea Source in a Jinteki Scorch deck, right?
Maybe.
Maybe?
Because as a player, I'm never going to take the tag against Jinteki. Like,
oh, they get to choose.
yeah.
Okay.
So you're going to take a brain damage?
Yeah. It's better than losing the game to Scorch Earth.
That's the cool thing though, is like I can't know unless I've seen it. I can't know that you're on Scorch.
Right. So you have to take the brain damage.
So I'm like, well, but at the same time, it's like I don't think I want to take brain damage because all I've seen is net damage out of this deck.
I mean,
so
how
far.
many times are you going to take brain damage?
So you literally have to choose.
2.
You
2
have
times.
to choose in that moment. You have to choose in that
Yeah.
moment. Are they on Scorch or are they just going to keep?
9 times out of
net
10, I'm going to
damaging
take the
me?
brain damage.
Yeah,
Especially the
that's
first
true.
time. The first
That's
time.
absolutely true.
Every time the first time.
But it could also be the wrong choice a lot of the time, even though you have to kind of honor it. That's going to be a really intense moment.
I have 4 cards in my hand.
This is
I
a
have
card.
4 cards in my hand. Does he have 2 Scorched Earth? Have I seen any influence? Let's check his archives.
Or even 3 cards. Like, do I take the brain damage, go down to 2, and he has the 3 neurals?
Ugh.
Or I take the tag and he scorches me?
Well, if he has 3 neurals, he can't play on that turn.
Or
No, you're right.
you can just play a lot of Cerebral Casts all at once. Play them all 3.
Just Cerebral Cast, Cerebral Cast, Cerebral
Boom.
Cast.
Brain damage for
All
days.
Jackson all 3 back in.
I'll
the
get
deck.
something. I think this is a solid card. As a corporation, it's hard for me to include a card that isn't a guaranteed thing.
Yeah.
Like on ice and stuff that I have to have in the deck anyway, I think it's cool. But with so many interesting cards coming out of here, having slots for something like Cerebral Cast is hard to find because the effect is still, in a way, more underwhelming than we've seen from the other cards. And it's a conditionally happening effect.
Yeah.
It might not actually work. So I honestly don't think this is going to see much play.
I think in I don't remember what it's called.
Nisei Division?
Nisei Division deck. Obviously, this card becomes a little bit better, but I'm even picturing with like Chairman Hero,
Mhm.
where if you can make their hand size smaller as well, like there could be a very brain damagey.
Maybe you
have-
start hitting some
yeah, it's
HP
like
love.
Yeah.
It's like at some point you have 2 cards in hand, and like do you have to draw, and then run?
Heaven forbid they score that house of knives.
Like, you can put them in really awkward positions if they take the brain damage.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Brain damage against Jinteki is bad.
3 Public Sympathy every deck, right?
No.
It is bad. It is bad against Jinteki. So, I don't know. I like that card. We'll see if it ends up getting used. It'll be a weird deck. But
I like that effect on anything but an operation.
Yeah. LOL.
That's where I am.
Next up, we have Medical Research Fundraiser. 3 cost, 1 influence, operation. It's a transaction. Gain 8 credits. The runner gains 3 credits.
I love this card. Steven does not.
I know that you do, and I hate it. I hate giving my opponent anything but death and pain. So it's problematic for me because this is what will explain exactly whether or not you like this card. If when you calculate how good this is, you subtract what you're giving the runner from your total, then you're me, and it's a 2 credit card, which is not anything special. If you just want 8 credits, or essentially net 5 credits, which is like a great
It's like a
gain all at
restructure.
once, it's like a restructure. Then you're like, yeah, this card is great. We don't care what the runner has. Give him 3. It doesn't much matter.
The amount of games that the runner is sitting on like 21 credits, like if 21 credits on Katie, and they have like 10 credits, like I need 5 credits more than you need 3.
Yeah.
It happens all of the time.
Yeah. It also happens. Oh, I could see this because when you get a Count Siphon deck happening, the ability to pop up.
Yeah.
How many times
only
at
3
the
money?
regional did you have like 30 money in your noise deck and the corporation had 0?
Yeah, very often.
I don't know.
But I like 33 even better.
I think there are times where you'll draw this and it's like, I'm not going to give the runner 3 credits, so it's a dead card. But at the same time, I have way more games where I have 0 money because I've been a Count Siphon to death. And being able to, at 3 money, get up to 8 would be a significant.
Yeah, because you probably have to just get 2 credits and wait, because most people won't siphon 2. 3 is kind of the level. So then you can credit medical research.
And a lot of times,
break out.
though, like I'll get siphoned down to 2 or 3, and it's like you can't click like gain 3 money and then hedge fund. Like that's not an option because then they'll just siphon you back to 0. So I don't know. Like the mat, it is a net 2 card, but I think the more important aspect is using it when you are on such low money. Like that's the benefit, not the 2 credits. It's money when you need it.
You know, honestly, Jinteki isn't so much into playing the economy game as hard as other corporations are.
Accurate.
They are, as we've seen from the very beginning, really into playing the net damage and the other aspects of the game that are slowing you down that aren't money.
The taxing game.
Yeah, but taxing not in the sense of like the tax man collecting cash, but in the sense of like, my brain hurts, or I lost my arm. Now I can't run quite as hard anymore. Yeah, so it taxes other parts of the game, which is good. So I think it fits right in there.
It's also a transaction, so Waylon could run this card, gain 6 credits with 1 click.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Just hate it.
I just hate it.
That's fine.
It is fine, but
all right,
it's not bad.
next,
Not
up
bad.
next with Mushin Notion. It's a 0 cost operation. It's a double. As an additional cost to play this operation, spin a click. It's also 2 influence before we get too far.
Yeah, there we
Steven
go.
would say.
Thank you.
Install an asset, agenda, or upgrade from HQ in a new remote server. Place 3 advancement tokens on that card. You cannot score or res that card until your next turn begins.
Yeah, this one's got a lot of. I'd say he also has a lot of talk going on in the Netrunner communities that I've peeped in.
It's a free 4 actions. Essentially, this card gets you 4 actions. It costs 2 actions to play, but you're also getting. It's more than that, really.
And
Because
you
you're
get 6
advancing as well.
credits.
3 money, yeah.
3 money, 3 advancements, and an install.
Yeah.
Like the math on this card is awesome.
If they don't deal with the card before you can do something with it.
Let's go ahead and make sure that everyone understands, because I think I've seen a lot of people getting taken by this, including myself. It is a new server, right?
Mhm.
Totally new remote server. So at best, unless you have like shipment or something, you're looking at Mushin Notion and maybe a piece of ice. Like if you're looking to score an agenda with this in a reliable way. Or it could be a trap, and maybe you're relying on them honoring that trap and not running it.
Like if I do this turn 3-ish, whenever we're both low on points, not super high on points, it's like, do you really want to run that 3 advancement card?
Yeah, it's tough.
Like if that's a Cerebral Overrider, I lose this game.
Yeah.
If that's a Junebug, I literally lose this game.
But I mean, it could also be like, hilarious stuff like a run-in, which it's like, all right, run it and trash it. Cool. If not, cool. It could also be a Grendel Refinery.
It could be a snare.
Yeah, you can do anything, even if it can't be advanced. Yeah.
I like Grendel Refinery. It's like, you want to run it and trash it for 2, that's cool. If not, I'll click gain, what is that, 20?
There are lots of really good options here. You can also run this out of HB and then do a mandatory upgrades, then put ice in front of it, and then the next turn advance it 3 times and score it.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Gives you a 2-turn mandatory upgrades.
For sure.
Worth noting, I think.
There's probably some combos over this too. Maybe Cerebral Imaging uses this. Maybe there's some biotic stuff you can do with this that makes it better. Obviously, if you biotic a couple times, you can install some ice.
Trick of Light.
It's good. It's solid.
I like Trick of Light. This goes in Trick of Light deck.
Yeah, I mean, it's solid. 2 clicks. Even just installing something that has a high trash cost that you really don't care that much about is fun and fine. It stays there for Trick of Light, or they trash it for 6.
Go.
Yeah, so it's good. Again, man, so many new tricks, so many possible cards. Is Mushin on that list of my new, 45, 44 card Jinteki deck, or 49 Jinteki deck? I think it gets hard. I think it gets very difficult to play these kinds of cards that are good sometimes.
I'm going to say I've played with this card in my deck, and I loved it.
You like it?
Yeah.
Is it still in there?
I'm playing a completely different deck right now. But if I was playing Personal Evolution, I would.
It just feels like a style of deck.
I think Personal Evolution.
It goes in a certain style, not in just every deck.
Right.
And a lot of different styles are showing up now that we're into this box.
Yep.
Which is very cool.
Styles for days.
Well done. Totally reasonable card. Inazuma. Whew. 3 cost. Code Gate. 5 strength.
3 cost, 5 strength, you say?
3 cost, 5 strength.
No
Code
way.
Gate, I say.
That is a sweet spread.
Yeah, it's really rare. So this is a toll booth level, except it's only 3 cost, which is magnificent. It's 2 influence. Got a nice little technology zombie getting shocked there, it looks like.
Awesome art.
2 subroutines. The runner cannot break any subroutines on the next piece of ice he or she encounters during this run. The runner cannot jack out until after encountering the next piece of ice during this run. What Inazuma is the whirlpool of people who actually want to work their whirlpool decks, right? Let's face it, everyone has been through that process of, if I set up the server and then whirlpool and these things happen, maybe there's a sell portal, it's like, you put them through the blender. This is just a really quick and better way of doing all of that. Bad piece of ice, Inazuma, you get hosed. Okay.
And I mean, you don't want to break this or deal with it or parasite it or and it's because it's a Kogate, it's just terrible.
Yeah.
And if you emergency shut down it, okay, I'll pay for your res
nobody
again.
cares about that.
There's no great answer against it except breaking it. It is worth noting that if you're running on a server and you know this is there and you can break it, you're probably only going to break the one that says you can't break ice or subroutines on the next piece of ice.
That's true.
So that makes it a little bit better.
And heck, if you Yogg Bishop it, or you Yogg Data Sucker it, you blow through it, not a big deal.
But it still forces you to do that.
Yeah.
It's certainly not too good, but it is
super
so
strong.
Usable.
It makes it where you can't run on a 2 ice server against Jinteki unless you have a Kogate breaker.
Or
some
kind of a sentry breaker that can handle all of the problems that you might see, which...
Well, but you can't break subroutines if you don't have a Kogate breaker.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You got to do them both. That is
awful.
Yeah. Man.
Oh, Norkathana.
For 3. Cool. It's so good. And there's a lot of times where this card does absolutely nothing because you don't have a good piece of ice to put behind it. Luckily, you can swap ice, though, with that new asset.
I mean, even if this is in front of, an ice wall.
Still annoying.
They have to break this and then the ice wall.
To break the ice wall. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a great card. You have to honor it. It's just, running against Jinteki now, it's almost like you have to set your rig up, but you can't because they're all fast now, too. So I don't know what you do.
You lose.
Apparently.
You keep them out of money. Don't let them res anything.
That worked for me. Who's got Kamainu?
I do.
A big one.
Kamainu.
That art, God,
it is awesome. 4 influence, 5 cost, ice, sentry, AP, 1 strength. When the runner encounters Kamainu, it gains a subroutine, do 1 net damage for each card in the runner's grip for the remainder of this run.
When I first saw this card, I was like, it's not that good. Just because it's 1 strength sentry. They can break it super easy.
They still have to break
and
all the
then I realized, after playing against it once, Like, I read it once and I was like, yeah, it's fine. And then I played against Ben Ruggles using it, and I was like, that's 5 subroutines.
That's really good.
That costs Mimic 5 money.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
So good.
Cost Mimic 5 money. So pros of this card, obviously, clear their hand out, which is awesome. That ends the run against Jinteki. Nobody goes into R&D or HQ with 0 cards in hand, I hope. Or even archives anymore. I just don't do it.
Just don't.
Secondarily, it opens up the House of Knives play, I believe. It also, there's a weird window, and I looked at this, and I'm not sure, I'm not going to go on record saying that this works.
You are on camera saying this.
But I'm almost certain that when you encounter Komainu, it gets the subroutines, and then there's like a window for things to happen. At which point I can use a snoop counter and pull a card out of your hand and kill you. Now I'm not sure that works yet, so don't hold me to it. I haven't actually been interested enough to make sure that that's legal, but I've heard from my rules sources that yes, we believe that works. So
could you like House of Knives into it?
You could absolutely House of Knives even after the effect. You just House of Knives. And it's like okay, we're dead.
I think that if they
Well,
jack out
dead.
immediately, there's no window.
Yeah.
If they jack out when?
Immediately. Like if their option, they take the damage from this, and then jack out. There's no window to use House of Knives.
Yes, I would think that's true. Potentially.
Because I'm pretty sure that the first action after you encounter after you're done with a piece of ice.
But isn't there a window to House of Knives before the subroutines happen?
The real question is,
I
if
feel
there's
like
a
there
window
isn't.
between the subroutines showing up and then the interaction with those subroutines. If there's a window there,
I think
there has to be a window though, because that's when you pump strength and
the
corporate
thing,
troubleshooter and whatnot. Yeah.
yeah,
they haven't encountered it yet. Whenever you're doing that, I'm pretty sure. I think that you're approaching
You
the
have to
ice.
corporate troubleshooter before they encounter it.
No, let me lay it out for you.
All right.
They're approaching the piece of ice.
Insert graph here.
You decide whether you want to res that piece of ice or not.
Yeah.
You res that piece of ice. You do any paid abilities at that point. You res the ice, and then they decide if they're going to encounter it.
Okay.
You are going to encounter it. Okay, paid abilities all over the place.
So I can't.
Then you
House of Knives
encounter
there?
it. You can use it there, but then they have one less card, and then they encounter
So
it.
there's a difference between encountering it and deciding to encounter it.
Correct.
Yeah, there's that weird thing in there. That's why I didn't want to say that it would work.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
We'll just have to dive into the rules again.
Like, I'm 99% sure that this is how it works.
Either way,
I'll believe you for now.
it's basically pay a credit for every card in your hand or lose it.
If you have the breaker.
You get the breaker.
You get the breaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
I mean, it's like, so it does, regardless of whether or not you can do cool little fun, quirky kills with it, you clear their hand. I mean, they lose 2 turns easy.
You can't face check Jinteki anymore without a central.
Oh, no. Face checking Jinteki was already a disaster.
You totally can. You just lose.
But at least it's parasitable.
It is very.
It has some weaknesses. If you FIM it, I know it costs you 0 credits to bypass because you never encounter it, so it never has subroutines. I know that's been a thing that's been discussed a lot. So if you want to FIM this thing, you can, but like I think the Corp likes that as well. Like FIM the Komainu, don't much care. It's
Agreed.
good. It's solid.
Yeah, I
Another
agree.
scary thing to run into.
Yep.
Also, it's a grown-up version of this card that
Yep.
we're about to get.
Man,
to.
I love this next card.
Yeah.
That art is so good.
Up next we have Pup. I love that art so much. It's a 1 cost, 0 strength sentry.
It's exactly what it is.
It's AP. It's 1 influence. It has 2 subroutines. Do 1 net damage unless the runner pays a credit. Do 1 net damage unless the runner pays a credit. And it has some fantastic
Yip,
flavor
yip.
text.
Yip,
Yip.
This is just an
Is
ankle
that a
biter.
shout out to
man.
Avatar, you think?
I hope so.
This is 100% an ankle biter. That's all this card is.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jinteki's version of the pop-up window, and it is appropriate for Jinteki.
It delivers.
It absolutely delivers. Yeah.
That's
there have
so
been so
good.
many games where I've had
I
like
can't believe
Pup,
it has 2 subroutines.
Pup on R&D. It's like, sure, pay for.
It's so annoying.
It's 1 influence. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Or I have like Yagura Pup on R&D and then like a Pup on HQ. It's like, come on in, spend those credits for random access.
Oh, it's so annoying, guys. 1 cost. I think you needed this. This is supremely taxing. Just so good.
I love it.
1 cost. You don't get the breaker. You just pay 2 every time you come through this thing. More parasites in the deck. You don't want to parasite that really though either. It's not good for
Am
you.
I next year?
I think I've got it. Yeah, Shiro, 6 cost code gate at 5 strength. What are you guys doing with all your code gates now, Jinteki? Used to be a Sentry
That
festival.
art is great.
Shiro, look at the top 3 cards of R&D and arrange them in any order. The runner accesses the top card of R&D unless the core pays 1 credit.
I have played this in my personal evolution deck, and I love it.
Yep.
It's so good.
So you basically put a trap up top, make them.
Or a hedge fund, or a celebrity gift, or a fetal if I need to, or
Yeah, you can really just... This is such a great piece of R&D ice, I can hardly believe it. Really.
Unbelievable.
But it's well balanced. It's good. It's 4 influence, which is nice. Keep that in Jinteki. But you gotta love this piece of ice.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 strength code gate.
And the art is wonderful.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do now?
Break it.
Run, not
Hopefully
Yogg.
we're not running Yogg anymore. Let's
Run, not Yogg.
stop running Yogg, everybody.
All right, next up, I believe
That's for me.
This is a unique piece of ice.
It is.
It is unique.
Susano no Mikoto, also known as Susan, right?
Close enough.
Susan.
9 res cost, 7 strength, ice, sentry, deflector, 1 subroutine. If not running archives, the runner is now running archives instead of passing Susan. The runner cannot jack out until after he or she encounters a piece of ice.
So you're telling me this is a 9 cost, 7
strength
sentry.
sentry. Yeah, I'm just going to leave
3
it at that.
influence.
The
Before we
end.
get too far.
The end. First of all, is this a Medusa reference with all them snakes?
No, it's one of the gods. I don't remember what it's not.
Oh,
Medusa.
of course.
Susanoo no Mikoto. It's one of like a water god, I think.
Awesome. Awesome. So it's like really ancient mythology.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so she's sending you to archives. If there's no piece of ice on archives, you can't jack out.
Have to
Right?
access.
You have to access archives, which could throw you into
Couple
shocks.
shocks, some CQs, maybe an agenda point or two. and
Really
you're dead.
excellent. It also is effectively an in the run subroutine because you can't keep going on the server you want to keep going on,
Right.
Which is an issue. I thought this was going to be a little expensive for Jinteki, but you guys are rich now.
We have a lot of money.
So rich. All these fundraisers they're throwing now. It's like, hey, we got money everywhere. Exceptionally good. Unique card. Great on the one server, which you've taught me that. If you have 2 installed, you rest the second one, the first one trashes. So sometimes that's quite useful. Maybe you make use of that. 7 strength sentry.
fantastic.
Gotta break it. Mimic.
okay.
Mimic hates this card.
Mimic is just like,
It's like literally if this card becomes a real big thing, and at 3 influence,
Does any sentry breaker like
it's
this card?
reasonable.
No.
No, but like, you know,
It
at
costs a lot.
least they can break it.
Yeah.
I mean, Mimic can't. A lot of data sucker tokens, maybe a bishop. You
Bishop
can,
Ice Cover tokens.
yeah, you can get in there, but like you never want it. It never nets you
It's horrible.
anything good. And with all the number of crazy things that could be in a remote that you're checking
And
with
heaven
Susan,
forbid
over,
I chum it.
don't chum this, please. Please don't chum
9
this.
strength sentry. I'll take it.
That becomes awful for Anarchs. Really awful. But, you know, this is on a remote. You go over there, and it's not an agenda, and you just pay to get in a 7 strength sentry.
No, it's an
Terrible.
Ash.
It's just a good exchange for Jinteki. So I think this is a fantastic piece of ice.
Or you get in and it's an Issei.
It's the Jinteki toll booth.
Yep.
Just saying. It's
Agreed.
probably better.
Jinteki, man.
All right. Are we ready to move on?
I think Susan's good.
It's good.
Like, it's a really
We
good
talked
card.
about it. It's solid.
All right, up next we have the Neo Tokyo grid. That art. Kilimanjaro there in the background. Whew.
That's awesome.
It's a 2 cost upgrade. It's a region. It's 2 influence. It's 5 trash cost. The first time an advancement token is placed on a card in this server each turn, gain a credit. Limit 1 region per server.
5 cost, 2 trash.
Are you really going to trash the server?
No. Obvious synergy with Tinin, right?
Yeah.
I was playing against Ben Ruggles, and he had a remote server that was just this card. No ice.
Yeah.
And every turn he would place an advancement on it and gain a credit.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm going to install Trick of Light. I'm going to do shenanigans.
You can't. Yeah, you
It's
can't
like,
really trash it, can you?
5 trash costs.
I mean, you can.
You
I like that
don't
it's on the
want
server, so you can have like a piece of advanceable ice. It's like I'll advance it and gain like you gain a credit
to.
back.
Or an agenda in that server, or a trap in that server.
Then you get Trick of Light. when you
Ronin?
do that.
Ronin.
That's
It's
really good.
solid.
That's cool.
I don't know. It's really good, but I would question whether or not you have room for it with all the other stuff that you're doing. The effect is good, but
I think that if
It's
you're
not like
playing a
Sansan
10
level.
deck, it's in there.
it probably works in there. All right, I'll believe you.
I'll believe you.
Tori Hanzo. Hello, Tori. Upgrade. Sysop. 4 influence, 2 cost to trash. First time you do any amount of net damage during each run on this server. Instead, you may pay 2 credits to do 1 brain damage. Now, it's during each run on this server alone, so the upgrade must be installed on the server that they're taking the net damage in. And you pay 2 to do 1 brain damage instead.
House of Knives get pretty sick with this.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
you don't want brain. Oh, you don't want brain damage. Ooh.
Jinteki brain damage deck.
Again, another great trick that can't be in every deck, but known as the Red Woman, Hanzo is notorious for her ruthless methods of server protection. Just braining you left and right.
Brain.
Where does this go? Does this go over R&D?
It goes over wherever they are going to be attacking.
And you run net damage during each run on the server. Yep.
So that makes you like really kind of have to pay for pups to break net damage. You can't just run into something and take the net damage.
Can't. But you got to pay 3 to get this lady up, and then pay 2 every time. So.
And it's 2 trash costs, so they're probably going to trash it. But it's still there, and it's still a brain damage.
Yeah. I like it. I would put like 1 in a deck that was interested in doing this. I don't think I'd do more than that. How about Plan B, Zach? I know you're a fan.
Let's do it. 0 cost, 1 to trash. It's an asset. It's neutral. No influence. Plan B can be advanced. If the owner accesses Plan B, you may reveal and score an agenda from HQ with an advancement requirement equal to or less than the number of advancement tokens on Plan B.
This card is also a very interesting card, isn't it?
I'm not that impressed with it. I'm just going to say it.
It's
fine.
How similar is it really to the card we talked about a little while back where...
Toshiaki
Yeah.
Sakai?
Yeah.
Sakai?
Yeah. The guy who, once you logic him down, becomes kind of a wiener.
I think that this card is better than him.
Certainly better than that.
The thing about this is, why wouldn't you just put down a trap? If you, like... If they're good, like...
Because if they're accessing it, you'd rather them hit a trap than score an agenda. Is that what you're saying?
It depends on the trap, but a lot of times, yeah.
So, I want this to be better than
Because this is only good with 3 advancements on it.
Yeah. Because you have to score the agenda from HQ with the advancement requirement equal to or less than the number of advancement tokens on it.
And if I have 3 advancements on a card in a server, why isn't it already an agenda that I'm just going to score?
Or just a trap.
Or just a trap that
Yeah.
they're going to hit.
A trap that you can either let them hit or choose to hit an agenda. Or choose for you to score an agenda, rather. So, like, having this as a trap instead of nothing is a much better option, isn't it?
Instead of nothing?
Instead of Plan B. Because Plan B
Yes.
threatens nothing, except
Right.
they might have an agenda in hand. Trap threatens a trap and an agenda that might be in their hand. So I like that a lot better.
Yeah.
And it's weird because you can't really install Advanced Test twice.
You can Mushin Notion this, and then ice it.
Yeah. In most situations, like, you install this, advance it twice. If I don't run it then, I'm not going to run it for the rest of the game. Unless in very specific instances. So, like, to get 3 advancements on this in a way that's threatening, to score an agenda out of hand is pretty low.
I mean, you could also put it in the deck that gets to put advancement counters on stuff without really having to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's fine. I'm sure I will lose to this card at some point and be very unhappy about it.
Like, it's fine whenever it happens. Like, it's a good thing to score agendas.
I also think, like, so let's say you have a 3-2, right?
It's better than I've been saying it is, I think.
In a scenario where you have a 3-2 in hand,
Mm-hmm.
and, like, maybe you're both at 5 points, or at 4 points if you only need 6, or whatever you want to call it, not having to put the actual agenda down, and then still having to get into, hopefully, a very taxing server to access this thing, and then if they do access, or, like, the quest complete this guy, you can just drop in your agenda and score it and win the
But
game.
what I'm saying is that you install advance it. I'm going to run on it if you're a game point.
And then what do you score? Maybe like a breaking news? Is that the
But
way?
I mean, you could also like install pass, next turn advance, and then it's like, are they going to run on it?
Yeah, that
At that point, you win.
But like,
Because they have to run
if you
on it.
install a card with no advancements on it, and you're at game point, like,
you probably go look at it.
I have to go look at it.
Depending on the server.
If you're a
situation.
faction that has 3-2s.
But it's a plan B. I don't actually have to put the agenda down
Right, but why didn't you just put a snare down?
because I can't advance.
Some people will like this. Most people
I think it's
will not
fine.
like this.
Like, and it will get someone at some point. I know it will. I
It
know
will
it has.
happen.
That's fine, but I just don't. It's the same thing with Toshiaki Sakai.
Just think about this as a trap. And the detriment of them hitting the trap is not anything bad happening to them, but potentially something good happening to you.
And that's what it is.
If all of the things work out in your favor, if you happen to have the agenda in hand, if it happens to be match point, if they happen to run on the thing, after you've spent 2 clicks and 2 credits to advance it. And then what you really need to do is 3 clicks and 3 credits to advance it. It's huge. It's a huge risk. No, I'm tossing this out. Done.
He's done.
Don't like it.
Can I use Project Atlas tokens on your turn?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
To me, because we're in the Jinteki mindset, maybe it doesn't work because you're running traps. I do want to note 0 influence, and like in my old school Wayland, just super taxing, expensive to get to stuff. I could potentially see this, and it's like I don't even have to have the agenda in my hand, but I just install and I can just go to town with it. I don't know.
Just load it up.
You could.
It's like, it's just so underwhelming.
I think the problem is
this wouldn't work with Project. This wouldn't put more counters on Project.
I know.
Okay.
I'm saying I can go get the 3-point agenda and not actually have to have it in my hand when you access Plan B. The problem is they have to access it for you to use it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a waste.
Right.
So it's just going to be a Grindel refiner.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Do not like.
Yeah.
No. Passing.
All right. Up
Plan
next.
B, Plan B written off.
Axe.
We've decided.
Up next, we have Guard. It is a 4-cost, 2-string sentry. It has 1 subroutine in the run. It also says it cannot be bypassed.
Hey, that's new.
It's also 0 influence, Chevron's aware.
I wish it had a subtype to like note the cannot be bypassed type of thing. Like if it was like a sentry.
If Guard was the subtype.
Or sentry on alert or something like that. I don't know. Anyway.
Unbypassable.
Well, it's not a very creative keyword. Hey, this is a good little piece of ice. Sometimes.
It's a
LOL.
earlier-ish game in the run sentry.
It is a sentry with a single in the run subroutine, which completes the trifecta with Guard and the code gates, the Enigma and Quandary, and then you have Ice Wall and Paper Wall and all that kind of stuff.
All static and Bastion.
Yeah, it's like an early game in the run, which is okay. The fact that it protects against inside job is really nice, so you can even potentially get away with throwing this as the single piece of ice on a score server early. But, you know, in those kinds of decks, I tried to find room for it recently before the Missouri Regional. I just couldn't. It just wasn't doing enough after they've got Mimic out, you know. So
it's at 4. Are you going to pay 4 for it?
I mean, you will if it is going to end the run.
And no one's gonna film it. The bypassing thing, maybe the bypassing thing will be a bigger deal. Later on.
It can only get bigger.
Yeah, it's really just one card that I'm worried about right now. Because if someone films this, it's like
they can just break it with Fim anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I'd say that. Somebody films this. Great.
Sweet. Thank you.
Awesome.
So inside job protection.
It's fine.
I mean, it's all right.
Hey, it's a good draft card.
It's a solid card. It'll find its way into some decks.
Yep.
Let's talk about this card, Tim. We were talking about it earlier. Is this me? Am I Rainbow?
Yeah, you're Rainbow.
Rainbow.
3 cost, 4 strength in the run. It's the granddaddy of them all. However, it is a sentry, code gate, and a barrier. All 3 of them. So it can be broken by any icebreaker that hits those types.
I like this card.
Except the fixies. Tim likes this card. I don't like this card as much. Zach, how do you feel?
I hate this card.
You're lukewarm. No,
I don't hate it. I just don't think it's good.
I think it's a fine card. The reason why is, sure, you can break it with anything, but look at what the breakers everyone's running. And if you're running Mimic, okay, it takes a data circuit token and a credit, which, if you're using a data circuit token on a 3-cost piece of ice, I'm pretty happy
Probably
with that.
okay with that, yeah.
If you're using Yogg, same thing. If you're using Zool, it's going to cost you 4 credits.
Pretty good, yeah.
If you're using Gordian, it's going to cost you 3 credits. If you're using Corroder, it's going to cost you 3 credits.
Mm-hmm.
If you're using Ninja, it's going to cost you 4 credits.
Yeah.
Like, everything that breaks this, even though it can be broken by anything, it's taxing.
It is. This is very good. Tim's made an excellent point.
I get that, but like, wouldn't you rather it be 1 credit less taxing, but they have to have a specific, like if this was just a code gate?
That's ultimately the question, right? So this ice falls right in the middle. It falls in a good spot where it's like it is the most consistently taxing. Like you can't run away from this tax ever in my head. But the tax that it doesn't have is the dig install to get in tax.
Right.
Which other ice
and
has.
to me, that's not what this is for.
Right.
This card is not for This card is going to keep you out until you find that one specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
This card is for you're going to spend 3 credits to break this card no matter what you play.
Every single time.
Every time.
So it's like, if I'm looking at creating a taxing ice suite, whether or not this goes in it is a very interesting question for me because, like, if I look at something like, okay, do I run this guy, which is always pretty decently taxing, or do I run something like Quandary, which is also pretty taxing all the time until they get the break. So, like, they have to hit this quite a few times to make up for the fact that they didn't have to go spend turns and clicks digging for their Yogg or their Koge Breaker, installing it, spending another click and money there, and then spending the 1 credit or the 0 credits to break the Quandary. So it's taxing in one way and not taxing in another, whereas the other suite is taxing in one way but not taxing the way Rainbow is, because once they have their breaker, it essentially falls apart. So it's solid. You've successfully changed my opinion on it. I like it a little bit more than I did.
I don't know the ice from all the different IDs.
We don't ask you to play this game, Zach.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just feel like for me, if I'm looking at Wayland as an example,
yeah,
it's like, would I rather just pay 4 for a Bastion and like until you have a barrier breaker, you just can't.
Same amount of taxing on a Corroder.
Like,
looks okay.
I pay 1 more and you can't get in unless you have that. Or I'm sure there's ice that is equally or more taxing and has the benefit of not being able to be broken unless they have X out.
That's really what you have to look at, and there's really not.
There aren't very many.
There's not a code gate that's more taxing than that, as far as like early to mid game, in my mind. Like for that level, it's like you have Enigma, you have Quandary, and you have Rainbow. And Rainbow's pretty taxing on code gate breakers, the ones that we're using now at least. Sentries, like a 4-string Sentry is always a pain no matter what. So it kind of, I don't know, the barrier thing is the weirdest thing to me. It's the most interesting thing to compare it to, where it's like, would you rather just have all these barriers? Because they pretty much do the same thing, but they also force you to get a barrier breaker until you see like a Morning Star or a battering ram, and then it's like, ew, problematic. I don't know.
I think this is a fine card.
I think it definitely deserves to be in the game.
Yeah.
See that?
And it
will
be
in
existing. And I think it'll be in very competitive decks.
I'm in. I'm with it.
Thank you.
I'm going to go put it in my deck right now.
I don't believe you.
Who's got the Zach?
I think it's Zach.
Yeah.
Diversify that, baby.
Diversified portfolio. It's a 1-cost operation. It's a transaction. Note that.
Hey.
Gain 1 credit for each remote server with a card installed in it. Boom.
Yucca Bean has seen astounding growth in even the most remote markets.
It's like this was built for Jinteki.
I've played against Kindle running this card.
I mean, it's obviously a replicating perfection card. That makes sense.
I've been playing against Kindle with this card. Kindle's been running this card against me, I should say. And the amount of times he plays this card for like 10 or 11 money is just insane.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah. Because you're not going to get over there and just like trash all the nonsense.
It's like pad campaign, that
stupid 0-cost
private contracts,
trash 3,
mental health facility, 4 pieces of ice on random remote servers that don't exist.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah. That's a cool card. I like that.
Sundews.
Cost 1.
Sundews, the stupid
So
Sundews.
like, if you have even 5 servers, it's a 1 for 5. Like you could be at 1 money.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It's good. It's a good little card. Again, deserves to be here.
Yep.
For certain.
Dig it.
And last but not least, we have Fast Track. It is a 0-cost neutral operation. You search R&D for an agenda, reveal it, and add it to HQ. Shuffle R&D.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the most obvious of the neutral cards to me, that you can just see a place for it in a lot of places. Like, most decks like to see certain agendas and are willing to trade out this card for whatever agenda they want in their deck. The cool thing about this card, though, is that it's not as straightforward as you would think it is. Like, I've had it in the deck for a while. The obvious thing for me is Psychographics. Beal. I mean, you just win so many stupid games like that. It's like, first click Fast Track, second click Install, third click Psychographics. It's like there's 4 points out of nowhere, or 5 points out of nowhere.
Whatever you need.
Even 3, it doesn't matter. So it's really good in mid-season Psycho type stuff. You want it to be good in like the NBN, Astro kind of things, but it's bizarre because you can't fast track, install, and then like advance out unless you've got like Sand and an Astro script counter, which most of the time in a competitive environment you're not allowed to have this perfect setup. So a lot of times what I find myself doing is fast tracking the Astro or something that I need, and then I have to hold it for a turn before I can score it out of hand next turn. And that creates a lot of very interesting pressure, especially whenever HQ might be more open than you want it to be. Do I wait and ice HQ, then fast track next turn, then score the next turn? It's like, that's kind of slow. Or do I fast track the Astro, which I've done many times, and then install something that isn't it, and make them think, oh, he just fast tracked the Astro, he doesn't think I can get in there, and then they go. So it gives you a good mind game too. I love fast tracking a Astro and then installing the NAPD contract just to be annoying. You know, it's like,
that's horrible.
4 credits. Sometimes I'll go in with 3 or 2 at the end of the when all's said and done.
Fast track, install, advance.
Yeah. It's really good. So, and think about all the cool agenda tricks you can do. Think about a cerebral imaging deck that might want to see a very specific agenda, like an efficiency committee, or a whaling deck that might want to see its posted bounty or its Project Atlas. I mean, it just adds consistency. It adds anything with biotics. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just good, man.
There are just moments where going to get an agenda of choice can win you the game.
Yep.
Lots of times.
And
like you know they won't be able to get in this next turn. They're out on money. They don't.
And there
have
are
the
also
right
games
breakers.
where this card will be the deadest draw you've ever
the
seen.
absolute worst.
They got 3
got
agendas
4
and a
agendas
fast
and
track.
a fast track. Sweet.
God.
Another important thing to do, if you need this, you can fast track first click just to get a shuffle on R&D to break any kind of R&D lock that you're in and get 2 fresh cards with 2 draws after you fast track. And that's good sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe you're looking for that last Scorched and you know they've got an imp sitting and they're R&D locking you and you know you're never going to see it. You can fast track and sometimes it'll take pressure off your R&D too. It'll get them focused on HQ and they'll be like spending a lot of time and money getting in there and not seeing it.
Agreed.
So this is a fantastic card.
So there you have it.
There you do have
Jinteki
it.
for the win.
I think these neutral corp cards are all very interesting and very good. Plan B is still questionable on that one. Guard is fine. Rainbows, they're all just so down the line. Diversify, Portfolio, and Fast Track are both just kind of obvious includes in certain types of decks. And then all the Jinteki stuff. Again, are we wider or taller here? That's
Wider.
the
I would
real
say
question.
taller.
I would say tall. I would say very much wider.
Like
And
they
also
are wider,
a little bit taller.
but they're also a lot taller, I think.
But the problem with Jinteki is the wider that Jinteki gets, the taller they get. Because you can't possibly honor all the ways they have to kill you in the card pool. So you just have to make stupid decisions as to whether or not they have room for snares in the deck or not. Or they have rooms for that Cerebral Overcast that would kill you right now. You know, just some weird stuff. So you just I think you just have to run with blinders
Cerebral
on.
Overcast wouldn't kill you because you just take a tag.
Sure. But like that would cause problems for you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like, oh, I can't take that here.
I think among Criminal Jinteki, they needed to be a little taller,
Mhm.
whereas Criminal didn't. I think Criminal got wider. I think Jinteki got a little bit taller and a lot wider.
Yeah, and I guess that makes sense, right? So as corps get a bigger card pool, they are automatically going to get stronger. Because corps don't really have to react to the runner options as much, at least for me right now, as runners have to react to what the corp can possibly do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that game of hide and seek, and it's like, well, when you have 100 people to find instead of like 2, it's a lot harder. So
100 people you could potentially find.
you could potentially find, yeah. It's like 100 hiding spots versus 2 hiding spots. That game gets a lot harder for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think this is very phenomenally well balanced. I don't see any problematic cards. I see a lot of strong cards, a lot of scary cards, but nothing hits me here as like an account siphon. You know, it's like, oh, this is a card that we're going to see a lot of and just see caned over the next year. Pretty solid, man.
I love it. I think this is a fantastic box.
Can't say enough about Future Perfect. Chic Hue, we really need to understand how significant that can change the game.
It's also worth noting on GQ, just going back in time a little bit, is that Data Dealer now has merit.
It has some serious merit, yeah.
If you're running a hostage suite, it's
And,
worth considering a
frame job, right? Frame job, sacrificing agenda.
Still
underwhelming,
Still questionable. I haven't
but
Data Dealer played on me this weekend.
These are some
It
really
works.
interesting pieces of ice. I'll say that. The Jinteki ice here is all so Jinteki. Like, look at it. Not a single one of these has really in the run on it. It's like, come on in, babies. The water's fine. How do you want to die?
fine.
The water's fine.
Can you imagine though hacking a Jinteki server in reality? Like, let's say you're a dude and you get jacked in. And
Can you, in reality, imagine this fictitious thing?
having some care for your own life that isn't just a card game, and you're like, all right, project today is like Wayland. It's like, okay, it's fine. Got to watch out. Project is NBN. It's like, oh no, it might be quick. I might lose track of things, or they might just like deceive me and get it out faster than I thought. Jinteki, it's like,
I might die.
all these doors are open. It's like they're not even trying to keep me out. They must have something crazy planned for me, and then you turn around and you're in the hospital. So I think they really captured that with all of these ice and
That's great.
and the cards. It's really good.
Well done.
Really good. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for watching the Honor and Profit unboxing on the Corp side. It is a little bit different kind of unboxing because there are so many options to consider on the Corp side. We hope you gained some insight from it, and that I know that we all probably gained some insight from unboxing these cards. We play with a bit of them. I think you play with a lot of the Jinteki ones. I played with some stuff in my NBN deck. Zach even played with some in your Wayland deck at Missouri Regional.
Yeah, and the criminal deck.
And the criminal deck, that's right.
On the other side of things.
So hopefully it's pretty well informed. I think you guys would not be disappointed if anyone's on the fence about buying Honor and Profit or whether or not it's a positive thing for Netrunner. I would say do it 100%. Get this thing. If you don't have it, you can buy it from us, which is very convenient for us, obviously. But we do have that on our store, so if you are interested in grabbing those cards and supporting this kind of content, then we would love for that to happen. If you already have it, enjoy it so much. We can't wait to see how regionals unfold this year, nationals, and just really see where these cards go and how wrong or right we are as the game goes on.
We'll find out.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we really appreciate your support and your business. Take care.